years ago, there lived an
old widower
with little to her name beyond her 3 sons. The first 2 sons were strong and enthusiastically worked the fields, gathering wood for the fire and hunting food for their table. The third son, however, was someone who, back in those days, they described as simple. But in reality, he was just more interested in
reading and studying the world
than in
slaughtering animals
and
carting big stacks of wood around.
So it came to pass that one day the first son was cutting firewood in a new part of the forest when a strange man appeared and said,
"Share your lunch with me. I'm so hungry and thirsty."
The son, understanding his body's own caloric intake need, was taken aback and replied,
"Should I do that? There'd be none left for me."
And so the strange man slumped down and began to sulk, while the son finished his lunch and turned back to his work. But within just a couple of swings of his axe, he slipped and cut his arm so badly he needed to stop his work and seek medical help. The eldest son was still recovering the next day, so the next eldest took up the axe and headed to collect wood in his place. And again, as lunchtime approached, the strange man appeared, asking for
lunch.
And the second son replied, like his brother,
"What I give you, I lose for myself,"
and gobbled up his own food. So again, the sulking man sat hungry, while the son picked up his axe and set back to work. And again, barely a swing into his work, the axe slipped and his leg was cut badly enough that his workday was also done. The following day, fearing
the impending cold snap,
the widower implored her final son to collect wood, hoping that some hard work might just make him
man
like his brothers. But having little love for the third son, she packed him just stale bread and sour beer for lunch. Like his brothers, he worked until lunch and then was visited by the strange
hungry
man as he sat to his food. Only the third son, more sensitive than the others, saw how genuinely hungry the man was and offered to share his
unfortunately stale bread and sour beer.
But to his surprise, as he prepared the meal for the strange man and himself, it transformed into delicious filled rolls and fine wine.
Fit for a proper picnic.
Sorry, is there someone around from the art department? They give me food rolls.
Once they had finished their feast, the grateful man had
one further
to
gift.
the good-hearted son.
Cut down that old tree yonder, and in its roots you will find a surprise.
The youngest son did as he was told and uncovered a shimmering goose with feathers made of pure gold. The surprised son picked up the tame goose and carried her with him towards home. As he neared his town, he passed by an inn where the 3 innkeepers' daughters were by the golden bird. So when the son stopped to rest his legs, placing the goose beside him, the eldest daughter sneaked up to try and pluck a golden feather from the unguarded goose. However, instead of finding herself richer, she found her hand became categorically stuck to the bird the moment she touched it. Desperately, she tried to free herself, but to no avail, and when her sister came to her aid, she too found herself attached, as if by the strongest glue. And despite the girls trying to wave away their younger sister, her rescue attempt also ended in adhesion. The oblivious young man, refreshed from his rest, picked up the goose, with the girls trailing behind like a little train, and started on his way again. It wasn't long, however, before the procession came upon the local parson, who was quite dismayed by the
Shameful behaviour,
daughters.
chasing young boys like that.
Only when he reached for one of the girls to chastise her conduct, he found himself also attached to the ridiculous convoy. The young man continued on his way, dragging the others behind him, occasionally adding another helpless caboose to his human train until he eventually arrived back at the town. There seemed no need to mention it earlier, but it's relevant now that the town was actually famed far and wide for its joyless princess. In fact, the local princess was so dour, her father
The king.
had a standing offer that
Anyone who can make her laugh would be offered her hand in marriage.
for years, many great wits had tried. But it wasn't until this ludicrous parade of people stuck to a golden goose, carried blithely by the young man past her window, that she finally burst into jubilant laughter. The king, somewhat
Dismayed.
that a poor simple boy had claimed his prize daughter, set about raising the bar for the princess's hand. So, on consecutive days, the king demanded the young man prove his
Fine project management and delegation skills.
by finding someone capable of the nigh impossible task of consuming a
Full cellar of wine within a day.
followed by
Full
a...
larder of bread within a day.
But the young man simply returned to the spot in the woods where he found
Still
the
very hungry and thirsty.
strange man and offered him the vast feasts, which he graciously accepted and easily devoured, completing the king's tasks.
Seriously, art department?
With each of the completed tasks, the frustrated king found himself less justified in denying the man his daughter's hand in marriage, so he devised one final requirement, the most
Devious and difficult.
task he could think of.
Design me a boat that can go on both the sea and the land.
The king exclaimed, triumphant that no man could possibly design such a thing. The young man, concerned his future as a prince might be slipping from his grasp once again, sought the help of the strange man, and together they worked through the night, engineering and iterating until they devised a most remarkable machine. So that's the story of how a young, simple man showed up his brothers with generosity, married a princess, and invented the hovercraft. And the reason why you should never join conga lines at parties, just in case you find yourself chasing a golden goose.